Hello and welcome again to Justified Jewel Podcast. I am your host, Joanne Cox. If you want to know just a little bit more about me, check out my website at justifiedjewel.com. And we are being here with this plan of seeing you on a regular basis to educate you, inform you, enlighten you more about the populace and how you can actually vote with none other than vote with Brian. That's it. He's been with us all this time, but I'm going to let him introduce himself and the first topic. Welcome again, Brian.
Hey, thank you for having me back, Joanne. Yeah,
Yes.
my name's Brian. I'm a former state legislator, a freelance political innovator, and I'm running an experiment in 2026. What would happen if the people of the United States decided to bargain for themselves outside of the two-party system? What would that look like? Well, the question then is, what are we bargaining? What would we bargain for? And so to answer that question, I spent 8 months, along with my AI co-writer, Mike, writing a 2,000-page legislative package called the Populist Act, which would address 1,001 issues in American society, and it would improve the quality of life for every single American. And so, Joanne, you asked me recently, what would the Populist Act do for military families? So I thought we could talk about that today.
That sounds great. And what can they do?
Well, to answer your question, what does the Populist Act do for military families? And the answer is pretty much the same thing it does for every American family. That the Populist Act is about building an America for the 100%, about universality and not identity politics, not picking out special groups as winners and losers, but offering benefits for all families. So it does the same thing that every we have unconditional basic income, which will establish an economic safety floor under every American family. That works out to $20,000 a year for adults, plus $8,000 a year for kids, to make sure that every American family is lifted up above the poverty line. And economic security is important for all American families, including military ones.
Yes, and that's very important because they surround us and they protect us and they have outrageous hours that they have to work and they're separated from their families. I can't even imagine how they would be separated and not treated fairly. And that is a big deal when it comes to the military. So we want to make sure that military families are taken care of.
And
So,
I'm glad you brought that up, Joanne, because a couple episodes you and I talked about paid family leave. And this
mhm,
is, in fact, one of the qualifying events under the Family Medical Leave Act is
yeah.
deployment. And
Mhm.
so this is again a special circumstance. So for military families, if there's a deployment, that's a qualifying event where they could have some paid family leave to make adjustments, to do what needs to be done for their family.
Mhm. Yes. And some of the things that take place with military families is if you want to keep the family together, it means you take the children and the spouse. If you're moving around like that, it doesn't serve you well when it comes to changing schools in the middle of a year, when it comes to the spouse having to relocate with a job. And you know what we would always be asked, Brian? Well, why did you leave that job? And is it the same thing with military? Is that excusable? Is that acceptable when they say, oh, I had to pick up and leave because I wanted to stay with my family? I wanted my family to be intact. Are we treated the same way? Because in fact, when it comes to how to treat the military, maybe we should step up above and let them understand that if we want them to be mentally healthy, we would have to excuse some of that movement. I don't know if that would fall under uh, how the military would, take care of their own, how we take care of our own. What would that go under?
I think it goes under, again, all American families, and in that
Yeah.
trying to make them more stable. We've talked about the preamble of the Constitution and our second duty of ensuring domestic tranquility. It means taking care of families. Families are important, an important part of society, and so they're one of the other things that America is struggling with today is housing. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that includes military families as well as all families. And so the
Mm-hmm.
Populist Act would would make more housing available and build more housing and help address this, this concern.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about housing, because of that move, the average person, when you get ready, and we are here in North Carolina, just for an example. So if I decide I want to move to Georgia, I'm going to scope it out. I'm going to check out where I want to move, what type of neighborhood, what works close to my job. But when it comes to the military family, you don't have that choice. You are now moving from North Carolina to out of the country, or you could be moving to the other side, California. That is not the privilege that you have when you're in the military to make sure that you have that proper housing. And so I understand what you are saying, that all families would be treated the same. Is that going to work out when you say the same? Because it seems to me that maybe they should have more privileges than the average family. But maybe now I'm going against the rule.
So let me switch gears slightly, if I can, which is to just, I guess, talk about the military in general. And so military
Okay.
service has been a proud tradition for hundreds of years and will continue to be. But the fact remains that many people join the military because they don't have other economic opportunities, that they need some sort of economic security. And by establishing so the military is, as we have one of the largest militaries in the world. We have the largest military budget on the planet. And to a certain extent, some of that is to address this demand for employment, to make sure that people in rural areas have economic opportunities if there's nothing else going on in their town. And so by shifting the economic structure of the United States, by creating a trickle-up economy with UBI, we will create more economic opportunities in every single city, every single town across the country, by making sure people have more disposable income to support local businesses. And so we're gonna bring down the demand for military employment. The and so it would seem to me, that should make it easier on people who continue to serve in the military. That if there's less of them, it'll be easier to focus on those families and make sure that they are getting the service and good treatment that they deserve.
But if there's less of them, would we be able to sustain what we've always gotten from the military, and that's to protect our country? Do we have enough if we want to lower that?
Well, the answer is, I think, yes. Right? Is that we haven't been invaded in more than a century. That we are, that yes, we can protect the United States with a much smaller military, as well as we'll talk about at some point here, a smaller nuclear arsenal.
Yes.
And yeah,
Because the thing is, it's not always about protecting America. It's because of who we are, and we're protecting other countries. And when we have to go out and do that, that would be my concern, that if we lowered that, and not all, it's a blanket statement when we say that people are getting in the military, maybe because of that economic status or having that well-known paycheck to come in. Some people are loyal Americans. Some people get in because it's a family thing. My
absolutely.
fathers actually was in, and I want to be in the military, and that is just who I am, and that's a great thing, and it's an honor to them. And they are already coming in well educated into the military, and it has nothing to do with that paycheck, but that's just who they are.
Yeah.
And
No, as I said, military service has been a proud tradition for centuries, and it
yeah,
will continue to be.
yeah,
But again, the fact remains that there is a significant percentage of people who join the military for lack of other opportunities. And that's a good thing, that we as a nation are able to offer people opportunities, right?
yes.
You and I know a young man in our Toastmasters club who spoke about that recently, and um, growing up in a impoverished part of Philadelphia. And the military was able to offer him an opportunity. And so it's good that as a nation that we're looking out for people in that way. As I said, one of the other parts of the Populist Act in Title VIII is an employment access guarantee. So an opportunity for people to have other paid employment in other arenas besides military service. So we'll be creating other opportunities for people as well. As I think we've also talked about, is giving people real choices, so that for people who want to, have military service, again, as perhaps as part of a proud tradition, that option is available. But for people who prefer to find other opportunities, that those are available as well.
Yes. And when you say that, I would like to expound on the idea that when they get in and they have a certain career in the military, that they can make that transition to the civilian world. Because if you are a tanker, you do not, you are not able to get a job when you get out. It was like, I'm sorry, but we don't need any tankers. And so, when you know that time is coming near, I believe something should be in place. If they hadn't thought about it, because they are just so into enjoying their job, that they need to have this transition, that they need to come and see me as a transitional coach. Okay. But they need to actually know that there's something waiting for them when they come out, that they have served the country for 20 years, but they need to make sure that there's something on paper that they can transition to in the world of in civilian life. And I think that has been a hardship. Not only that, if they've been overseas and in battle for any type of trauma, it is one of those things that are sort of say, we don't want people to know about this, so you don't need to see therapists, and we want to make sure that it's okay. Civilians, it's okay for a civilian to go and see a therapy, to help see a therapist. So why should they be ashamed of that? And we want to make sure that we're protecting our military and making sure that they are stable mentally and that they can get the help they need and they are not shunned because of something that they've been through because of war. And
Absolutely.
I would like to see them protected in that way.
Absolutely. Again, not just military families, but all Americans. And
Yes, all
so,
Americans. Mhm.
as I think we've talked about, the Populist Act includes universal health care,
Mhm.
Medicare for all. And so anyone who, needs to talk to a therapist, or that kind of service should be available to them. Because as you said, we want everybody to have good mental health.
Yes.
And one of the best ways to do that is to reduce the number of traumatizing incidences in the first place.
Mhm.
And, to the extent that military, combat can lead to those sorts of trauma, mental trauma, that if we can reduce those circumstances, then that can address the problem even before it begins.
Yes, and I brought that up because it was like, what can the Populist Act do for military families? And that falls up under military families.
Absolutely.
And we want it to be universal, definitely. But I would hate to see them go untreated or to feel that they cannot discuss or talk about this. And they are so into following those rules of, you're going to be okay, you're strong, you'll survive, but it doesn't fall up under that. And we want to make sure that that is
Yeah.
taken care of, as well as all of the medical conditions that they could possibly go through,
Yeah.
that they could possibly need. Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us whatever it is that you want us to know about this particular topic about the military families being taken care of.
Yeah, I think we've covered an awful lot of it. And I guess I'd say that, supporting the troops can mean asking less of them and
Mm-hmm.
not trying to put too much on their plates.
Mm-hmm.
Right now in the Middle East, the USS Abraham Lincoln is floating out there, and the 5,000 sailors and Marines on board. They haven't been to a port for more than 6 months.
Yeah.
And that sort of, that can't be good for anyone's mental health.
Mental health. Yeah.
And so, yes, we should try and reduce those sorts of situations, for people, as best we can.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we've said a lot to cover this particular topic, and I want people to think about this. If you're not military, and if you don't know someone in the military, again, this is what the podcast is about. It's about putting things on the table that you did not think about. There are times where we don't vote for certain things because of the fact that it doesn't affect us. But guess what? These are your brothers and sisters that will be performing on you. That might be your doctor, that might be your nurse, that might be your neighbor. And we want everyone to be in good health. And we want people to be as strong and healthy as possible, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And we want us to tell each other what we can do to bring them up and to just make them have a better lifestyle. So, with
Absolutely.
that being said, is there anything else that you would like to end this program with today,
I
Brian?
just I would want to say thank you, Joanne, for asking the question. I hope that answered it. And I guess I'd ask your viewers if they have questions to leave comments, and we could try and address those in the future episodes.
Yes. And see, we talked about military families, but guess what? The next episode is ending government shutdown. Woo! I like that one. But not that I didn't like the other ones, okay? But again, subscribe, bring a friend, have pen and paper and take notes. And don't forget, join us for the next episode. And until then, thank you for watching.